Hi, welcome back to 9.2 Graphing Lines. This is the third and final part to these. We've talked about how to graph independent lines where the X and the Y were on the same side. We talked about how to graph dependent lines where you had one letter, usually the Y, all by itself and the X on the other side. And now we're going to talk about single letter lines. And that's where, if you look at the equation, you'll notice that there's only one of the letters, okay? There's either just an X or just a Y. And these are the easiest of all of them, but you have to just remember the tip, okay? So if I have X is equal to 2 and I'm making my table, you'll notice that the equation tells me that X is always going to be 2, all right? So it doesn't matter what Y is, does it? Because Y is not even mentioned. All that matters is what X is. So you're going to put the 2 down for both of your points. It doesn't matter what Y's you choose. Choose anything. So I'm going to choose 1 and 2. Okay? So whatever it says that X is, you put that down twice. And then whatever for Y, just pick any two numbers you want to. You can choose 1 and 2 every single time if you want to. Okay? Now, when you graph it, you'll notice that my first point is 2, 1. So I would go over 2 and up 1 and put a dot. My next point is 2, 2. Go over 2 and go up 2. And then draw a straight line. Single letters will always be a straight line, okay? And they will cross whichever axis the letter is talking about. So you'll notice that this one talks about X. Look, it crossed the X-axis, okay? So if I have this example, Y is equal to -3. This time, only the Y is mentioned. So right here where Y is, I'm going to put -3 both times. Now, you get to choose whatever you want for X. I'm going to be boring and choose 1 and 2. Now, when I graph it, I'm going to go over 1 and down 3, and go over 2 and down 3. This time I have a straight line again, but you'll notice that it crosses the Y-axis, and that should make sense because that's the only letter it mentioned, okay? So straight lines are single letter lines. They only have one letter in them. When you do your table, whatever letter they give you stays whatever number it is, and then you can pick anything you want for the other letter. You can be boring and choose 1 and 2 every time. And it will cross, it will be a straight line that crosses the axis that is mentioned in your equation. Now, to review real quickly, we've talked about how to graph independent lines, how to graph dependent lines, and how to graph single letters. When you graph independent lines, that's where you have both letters on the same side equal to some number. And you've done something with those both letters. You either added them or you've subtracted them to get this number. So you think of the two numbers that go in your table at the same time, okay? Dependent is where you have one letter is equal to the other letter, and something is done to it, okay? Like Y equals X minus 5. Okay, or Y equals 2X. You have one letter over here by itself, the other letter you've done something to it. This is called a dependent because the letter they did something to it is the only one you choose, and then you have to do math to figure out what the other letter is. And then we had today single letters where you just have one letter equals some number. Those are going to be your straight lines and your one letter that's in the equation. You put down what it is, and then you can choose anything you want for the other letter. Now, some little tips that we talked about. Remember, if it says -X, that doesn't mean X is necessarily negative. That means -1 times whatever you choose for X. So be careful with that. And if there's a fraction, remember we said to choose 0 so that the fraction will totally go away, and choose the bottom of the fraction. For example, if I have 1/5 X, okay, you're going to choose 0 and you're going to choose 5. When you choose 0, the whole thing will go away. So if I choose 0, this will all go away, and so y will be 3. If I choose 5, then I'll have 1/5 times 5, which will make the fractions go away, and that will leave me with just 1 plus 3, which is how I get your 4. So don't let the fractions bother you. Remember to choose 0 in the bottom of the fraction, and remember the tip about negative x. Good luck. Give me a call if you need some extra help.